Mr. Secretary General, Madam President, it is a pleasure to be here. It is the great Martin Luther King Jr. who said that peace is not the absence of war, but the presence of justice and brotherhood. Parliaments bring together the largest number of the most powerful elected leaders on the planet. This mighty army can easily be the greatest global agency of change, including procuring lasting peace and understanding. The IPU, being the largest global association of parliaments, with its grounding principles that dialogue is central to peaceful resolution of conflicts, is ideally poised to achieve this objective. Unfortunately, at this conference, we failed to harness this energy and marshal our thoughts to condemn the worst human rights tragedy in the world, Gaza, and the lack of democracy in Venezuela. These horrendous events, although occurring at opposite sides of the globe, together manifest the deadly havoc that armed conflicts wreaks and the social disorder and human sufferings that the absence of democracy produces. More than 30,000 are dead in Gaza. Nearly 8 million refugees have fled Venezuela. There is another dimension about Venezuela which I wish to highlight. Venezuela continues to unlawfully claim 2/3 of the sovereign territory of its western neighbor, Guyana. This claim by Venezuela was finally and conclusively settled by arbitration in 1899. Venezuela accepted and acted upon this arbitral award for 6 consecutive decades thereafter. It was not until the early 60s, when Guyana was about to gain independence from Great Britain, that Venezuela made the outrageous claim that the arbitral award was unlawful. It continues to make this spurious claim to date without producing a scintilla of evidence to substantiate it. Right here in Geneva in 1966, Venezuela signed an agreement with Guyana, inter alia empowering the United Nations Secretary General to take steps to resolve the controversy. In 2018, exercising those powers, the UN Secretary General referred the matter to the International Court of Justice, where it remains pending. Thus far, Venezuela has refused to accept the court's jurisdiction or to be bound by any order the court makes. Venezuela has threatened physical invasion and in December 2023 moved a referendum to annex 2/3 of Guyana's sovereign territory. The ICJ has issued interim measures restraining Venezuela from taking further steps in its declared intention. Every major international organization in the Western Hemisphere has condemned Venezuela's action and have called upon Venezuela to respect the jurisdiction of the ICJ, to comply with international law, and to employ diplomacy in resolving this alleged dispute. These include the United Nations, the European Union, the Commonwealth, the Organization of American States, the CARICOM community, and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States. Many governments, including the United States, Canada, Great Britain, Brazil, and those of the Caribbean, have issued similar statements. Significantly, by virtue of an intervention broken by CARICOM and CELAC, the presidents of Venezuela and Guyana signed an accord in Argyle, St. Vincent in December 2023, inter alia declaring not to take any steps to escalate this conflict, but to resort to diplomacy and dialogue in resolving it. During all of this, Guyana has maintained emphatically that the matter must be resolved by the ICJ. Further, Guyana has always maintained that diplomacy and dialogue must prevail over threats and confrontation. Last week, in breach of both the letter and spirit of these interim measures granted by the ICJ and the Argyle Declaration, Venezuela government enacted laws in its parliament to annex 2/3 of Guyana's sovereign territory.
Please conclude.
1 minute.
Colleague.
I appeal to each one of you to use the theme of this conference and the platform of your respective parliament to condemn the actions of Venezuela, to demand compliance with international law, and to call for diplomacy to be used as a bridge for peace and understanding. This is not a favor to Guyana. It is discharging a duty we owe to ourselves and indeed the world if we are to remain true to the founding principles of this great organization. Thank you very much.